Weird angle. Testing. Here, let's try one more place. We're in my backyard, if you couldn't tell. This is where we got married. Very beautiful backyard. Okay, I think that's better. All right, let's talk about compatibility. If you're new, my name is Sharon. I'm just a girl who was in a really hard marriage. Now I'm in an amazing marriage. Now I'm in an amazing marriage. Now I'm in a really good marriage. And I just want other girls to be in really good marriages. I feel like that's like one of the biggest takeaways that I got from leaving my first marriage. So, compatibility. I made a video like a month ago about my divorce, and I had some questions after that. Made a question video. It's this one if you're interested. But there were 2 questions on there. What were they? What would you say makes a couple compatible? 28 female here. Advice for women who long for marriage and are afraid of lifelong singleness. Those questions aren't exactly the same, obviously. And I feel like I'm going to make another video on how it's better to be single than to be married to the wrong person. But I was thinking about how to answer this question, and obviously I don't know the answer. Like, I don't know the exact formula to a couple's compatibility, but I think that based on my experience, and obviously that's what I'm speaking from, is just my own experience, there are some things that if I were to be talking to you in real life or one-on-one, I would ask you these questions. So if that sounds helpful to you, then keep watching. So I've said this in other videos, but I'm mostly talking to girls who are Christian who want to marry Christian guys. Just to set some context from where I'm coming from. If you're watching this video because you're currently in a relationship that you're not sure about, and I'm sorry if I'm repeating stuff. I don't even know what I've said in previous videos, but I mean everything that I say. So if I'm repeating stuff, it's because I really, really mean it. But if you're dating somebody that you're not quite sure about, one of the biggest things, if not the biggest thing that you should ask yourself is, what is his faith like? Like, is it pulling teeth every time you have to ask him to go to church? Is going to church on Sundays like not a given thing? Like, is it something that you have to convince him to go, or you have to ask him, or it's just literally not a priority for him for whatever reason? And I think that, this is obviously very tricky with work schedules, and if your boyfriend is a student or something like that, and, something major is coming up, I don't know. But I think that if generally he's not even going to church, and this is not to say that going to church is like the standard. I think going to church is like the bare minimum. If it's hard for him to go to church and you have to convince him to go to church, I don't know if you're compatible. Because if that's important to you, well, oh my gosh. It should be important to him because it's important to you. But also, it shouldn't be important to him because it's important to you. It should be important to him because it's important to him, is really what it is. And if you are the one who is like leading you guys in this way, and it's really just difficult every week to get him to go to church, but it's important for you to go to church, and your faith is important to you, I don't know if you're compatible, to be honest. It's just not really going to change much. Or if it does change, it's going to change because of you. And that's not enough. That's really not enough. It has to change because of him. Like in this scenario, I almost want you guys to break up. I want him to figure it out on his own. I want him to have his own faith and then get back together. Like, I know that that's scary and nobody wants to do that. And I'm not even saying you should really do that, because there's a bee over there. Because, you shouldn't be waiting around for somebody, in my opinion. But that would still be better, because then it would kind of show and kind of prove that his faith has become his own, independent from you. And I think that if your guys' faith is not on the same page, you're not compatible. So I'm sorry if that's hard to hear. And I'm sorry if I've crushed all your dreams and hopes about him changing and growing stronger in his faith. Like, oh, but he's changing. Oh, but it's gotten better. Oh, but he said it is important to him, and it's just, excuse after excuse, whatever. You know deep down, if this is the man that you maybe want to marry and lead your family spiritually, going to church is the bare minimum. And I'm using that as an example. Like, obviously there are so many other things that are important for him to do in his faith that I could use as an example, but that is a very personal one to me. Like, that I remember how hard it was to get my ex to go to church. And it was just, he was going through his own stuff, and I get that. Like, I really get that. Like, people have their own stuff. But I also think that that will make it really hard for you if you get married, and it might not make you compatible. I think those are the things that he really needs to work through before you guys get married. And it's just not going to change as quickly if at all, as much as you think it will or that you hope it will. It could. Things obviously could get better, and God can do anything. But if you're straight up asking me what makes a couple compatible, their faith has to be very much aligned in what is important to them. And again, don't get me wrong, I'm not saying if you both go to church, you're solid. Like, church is just a little tiny example. It's just more like, if your faith is the most important thing to you, is his faith also the most important thing to him? And again, it's not because of you, it's not for you, and it shouldn't be. But if it's not, then you're probably not compatible. That's the biggest one. Truly, just imagine having children with this man and having him teach your kids how to see the world and how to interact with the world and how to live in a world that is supposed to hate us and will require us to follow Christ and lead by example and all these things. And if your man is not somebody that you would trust to lead your children in that way right now, it's going to be pretty hard later. I am speaking from experience. For me, I said I would ask him one time every week. And if he said no, I would drop it. That was kind of like my compromise. At this point, we were already married, so I couldn't do anything about that. But yeah, going to church every Sunday, even before we got married, it wasn't a given. And that was a big red flag. Ladies, listen to me. I'm serious. It's going to be really hard. Okay, so that's the first one that I probably really poorly explained, but hopefully my message went through. Okay, next thing. This is more for younger people, but if you guys are in school or, I don't know, still figuring stuff out, you don't have a lot of money, you're both students, I don't know, whatever. Is he reliable and mature? That's really important too, because you are trying to have a partnership and you cannot be his mom. If he's a student, is he a hard worker? Does he study a lot when he needs to? Or do you feel like you have to micromanage him because you just can't trust that he's gonna do his best on these exams or whatever? Does he prioritize the right things? If he's looking for a job, is he faithfully applying to X amount of jobs a day? Are you guys having good communication about that? Do you feel good about that? Is he doing everything he could possibly do to get a job? Or is he lazy? It's just very tiring when you're trying to take care of yourself, but you're also carrying the mental load of making sure that your partner is doing what he needs to do. And when you guys are both adults, you should not have to do that. There's a difference between different personality types and being type A versus type B, or having different strengths and weaknesses between the two of you. I'm not saying don't support him or criticize him for his weaknesses, or don't be a jerk. Like, if he's trying, or if he's just kind of uninformed or doesn't have a lot of resources, then help him out. Do what you need to do to be a supportive girlfriend. But I trust that you know the difference between that and your boyfriend is just lazy and immature. And if he's spending his time playing video games or doing other things that you don't really approve of because you think it's a waste of time and he should be doing other things, what do you think it's going to be like when you have kids? What do you think it's going to be like when your parents get sick and you need help? You need him to keep going to his job and help you take care of the kids and help you take care of your parents, and do it with a really good attitude. Is he going to do that? Because right now, when you guys are dating and he's lazy about getting a job or not studying his best in school because, I don't know, he's insecure, or because he's not even trying and doing everything he possibly can to get better, it's just going to get rough when more responsibilities are put on your plate. I can feel the things that I'm saying being twisted, and all these examples of extreme situations being thrown at me about people who are struggling for a really good reason, or because of their past and history and trauma and different diagnoses that they might have and things like that. I'm not talking about those things. I'm talking about your boyfriend's lazy and you know that he's lazy and you're hoping that it'll get better. And he gives you glimpses of that because sometimes he's really great and sometimes he works really hard, and it has gotten better a little bit. But if in general he's lazy and not reliable, that's going to get really hard for you when you have more stuff put on your plate. So for that one, if you're a go-getter and you work really hard and you kind of just do everything, that's fine. Like, I'm so happy for you. Like, that is great. That is your strength and you're killing it. You're rocking it. But you need a husband who will match you. I'm not saying you guys have to be the same, and you're not going to be the same. Daniel and I are so different. We have such different strengths, but he matches me in the sense of he is giving his 100% every day, and I am giving my 100% every day. And our 100% every day is not full capacity every day. It's just whatever we can give that day, we give it. And we have to. We have kids and we live with my parents, and people need us, you know? But it doesn't feel like I'm giving my 100% and he's giving his 50%. That's not what it feels like. It feels like we're both giving our 100%. And sometimes when I can only give 50%, he will cover for me and vice versa. And if your boyfriend is not somebody who will do that for you with a good attitude, how are you going to give 150% most days and then give 200% on days that other people really need you? And what about the days that you can only give 50%? We're adults. Everybody's responsible for themselves. Last compatibility thing, communication styles. Is it compatible? If you feel like you are walking on eggshells, or it's just really hard for you to have a conversation with him and you're not compatible in the way that you fight, this one I feel like is the most fixable. Like, it's the one that you can really, really work on, and other people can help you. Like, truly, like a couples counselor can help you. But I think if your boyfriend's not willing to do that, or not willing to see his weaknesses in the communication styles, that's the part where maybe you're not compatible. Like, if you're willing to work on this and say, hey, let's get better at communicating when we have conflict. Like, I feel so crappy afterwards and I don't want to feel that way. I want to help us validate each other. I want to help us build each other up and make each other stronger. And I want to be able to feel super comfortable and safe every time I have something to bring up to you. Let's work on that together. And he says, yes, but then nothing is really changing to do that. I'm not sure if that's compatible, because both sides really need to work on it, where they both need to be aware of their shortcomings, and you have to be willing to look at yourself and figure out what you lack and how you can improve as a person. But so does he. And if it's always you apologizing, or always you feeling like you have to, in Korean it's called like chama, where you like have to like be patient and like you're the one who has to like hold it in and just like suck it up. If you're the one doing that all the time and he doesn't really seem to be putting in that effort and doesn't really have interest in doing that, and you're kind of really squashing down your feelings and opinions and thoughts and needs, I don't know if you guys are compatible. And I don't know if that's just a communication thing. I actually don't think it is. I think it would probably root from a bunch of other things. Like, I know people who were such terrible partners to people that I know, and then they end up with somebody else and it seems fine. So I don't know what happened there, like if they changed, or the other option is that they were just not compatible with the first person, right? Question mark. So maybe it's just not a good fit for you, but at the end of the day, it's about effort for this one. Like, truly, I do think you guys could get better at this. But if he's not really willing, or it's just really hard for you to bring stuff up without feeling like you need to work up 10 days of courage to bring something up. Let me just tell you, if you were with somebody that you could feel safe doing that with, where you could just bring stuff up very casually and have a good conversation about it, you would thrive. I'm telling you that you would thrive. And so I'm not saying that for those of you out there who have a hard time communicating with your boyfriend, or if you're married with your husband or whatever, that you're doomed and that it's just horrible and you shouldn't be with this person. But I will say that for those of you who are not married yet, if your conflict with your partner is not that great and you've been working on it and it's just still really hard, I'm telling you that if you're with somebody that you are more compatible with in the communication piece, where you just kind of don't have to like watch every single word that you say and be careful around how you phrase every little part of your conversation and all these things, truly you would thrive. Being with somebody who gives you the benefit of the doubt and knows your heart. So even if your words are not perfect, or you're trying to share something and it's just not coming out right, or whatever, you're in a heated moment and you're both saying things that are quite rude to one another, but you both have this deep trust for one another, you would thrive. I'm telling you, you would thrive. So This one is more like, not that you're incompatible if you're with somebody that you can't communicate with that well, but if you do end up with somebody that you are more compatible with, it would just be better. I guess I'll just leave that one like that. This is a tough one because, you know, there are like a million and one things that could go into this question, and everyone's situation is so different. And if I were to talk to you one-on-one, I would just have so many questions for you if you weren't sure if you and your partner were compatible, and like if you are just in this relationship because you're hoping it'll get better or because it's a really good relationship. Anyways, if you're not sure and you have a really weird situation, feel free to reach out. Like, I'll meet with you and we could talk about it longer, because I don't know what makes a couple compatible, but I know when it doesn't sound great. So I guess that's all I'll say about that. And for those of you who are too scared to leave a relationship, little preview for one of my future videos, it is better to be single than to be married to the wrong person. Trust me, marriage sounds great. All your friends are getting married. It's sad, you're getting older, you want kids. I get that. But it is really, really miserable when you married somebody that you probably shouldn't have married. And now every day is a toss-up. It's like, is today going to be okay? Is it going to be great? Or is it going to suck? Or is it going to be a little bit of everything? And I know that's life, and I know that happens to a lot of people just based on different circumstances, but it doesn't have to be like that where the part that it sucks has to be integrated into your life every day. It could be a great day most days. If you marry somebody who is solid in the right things, and I'm not saying those people are perfect, but there's a better chance for the daily joy of life together instead of this eggshelly daily life that you feel uneasy all the time and it feels like you have to like force yourself to be happy. I'm specifically talking about the difference between those days. I hope that made sense. All right, well, I don't know if I answered your question, but hopefully that was helpful. I was in a hard marriage. Now I'm in a great marriage. And I just want all the girls to marry someone like my current husband, because it's just so much better. Whoever my husband is for you, that's who I want you to marry. Okay. Talk to you soon. Subscribe if you want. And see you in the next video.